we're starting the major news. You gotta be up here and do this somewhere. By the way, all of you need to put this in your brain. What am I gonna say when I get a chance to talk at 20 books to 50K?
That's right.
Seriously, I mean, it's gotta be out there. Okay, so we're starting.
You're ready to go.
Started. Oh my God, I'm late. Okay, hi, I'm Todd McCaffrey. You might have guessed from the slide. 45 odd books out there now, and I wanted to talk about, the title of this is Creativity and Cash, but it's really kind of 20 books to 50K, just I couldn't use the same name again. So here we go, 20 books to 50K, right? Published market, we know that part. About me, because I got to show off. So I have 1 million books in print, 2.5 million words, over 40 titles, 9 books with Pen and Random House, traditional, 40 years experience in the field. Jesus, that's another way of saying you're old. And I got a BSME and an MFA, and okay, now we get into the real stuff. So 20 books to 50K, let's think about that. We got 20 books, we got 50K. What's that mean? 2,500 books, 2,500 bucks per book per year. Actually, per title is probably what I should have said. Which means, according to my math, that you want to make $6.85 per title each day. It's not going to happen immediately. You're going to get variance. Maybe one book is earning 20 bucks and the other book's earning 2 bucks, but it's the way. Alrighty, so this is new. I want to give you all a quick overview, traditional versus indie, seeing as I'm both. So, calculating sales from advance and royalty rate for traditional mass market paperbacks. So traditionally, okay, so sales, this is the mathematical equation I'd like you all to remember, because it's going to save you. Sales equals advance divided by royalty multiplied by price, manufactured, suggested retail price. So if you get an advance of $6,000, which is kind of in the market, and you're getting a royalty rate of 6%, for paperback it's between 6 and 8, depending upon how well you've done. And then there's some bumpers, like when you sell over 150,000 books, we'll give you more. But from a general author being published with a traditional, those are kind of the numbers you're going to get. They're probably going to sell your mass market paperback for about $8, $7.99. Okay, so in order for that advance to be earned out, this is what the publisher is betting on, is you'll sell over 12,500 copies, or your title will sell over 12,500 copies. Okay. Interestingly, the publisher's going to make about $44,000. How do I know that? You figure that they're going to get about half of the MSRP times the number of copies sold. All right? That's what that number is. Generally speaking, those of you who haven't been in there yet, if you're selling at a show or if you're in a bookstore, half of the money goes to the bookstore or to wherever. So yeah, the publisher only gets about half. Anyway, okay, so let's move on. Traditional ebook. Okay, so a traditional book, ebook. Same advance. The royalty rate goes higher. We'll talk about that in a second. I pulled this price off of looking at somebody's big thing, and they wanted $13.99 for it, and I went, so they'd only have to sell about 2,500 copies to make that $6,000 back. Publisher would get $11,000. And the royalty rate is, they're going to give you 25% of what they make. But if they're selling through Amazon, Amazon's going to give them roughly 70% of the rate you get. So that's where I calculated that from. Cool. Alrighty, so now us, indies. Same deal. Pretend we want to make $6,000, or how quickly we get to $6,000. Our royalty rate is now 70%. I'm using an ebook price of $5.99. Actually, a lot of people are going for more like $4.99. But that was the number I ran with. So, have to sell 1,431 books. Wait a minute, it was 12,500 paperbacks with the All right, and Amazon, by the way, will make $2,500 out on that. Right, so you'll make 6, they'll make 2.5. I'm liking this deal. Okay, so summary. Traditional paperback, 12,500. Traditional ebook, 2,400. Indie, 1,431. I think those numbers kind of speak for themselves as to why it might be nicer to go one way or the other. Okay, so for those of us who are looking at the 20 books at 50K, we're looking for $2,500. Let's run those numbers. I'm using the lower ebook price of $4.99, and I hit my button too fast. So the desired sales are 716, right? That's not a lot. That's in a year. You know, there are days when you're going to look at that number and go, "Oh my God, I'm never going to get it." You know, that happens. So if we go look further, oh yeah, Amazon gets $1,000 out of that. When we go to 20 books for 50K, then we got this same deal. We want $2,500 per book. We got 20 books. We're going to have to sell a little bit over 14,000 ebooks a year.
That's a great number.
It's nice.
14314.
Yes, it is. It is a great even number, no less. But that's just sort of an idea of where we're looking at. Okay, so how do we get there? Well, if you say your book size is 80,000 words and you can write 1,000 words a day, you're going to take 80 days to write a book. At that rate, give yourself some time off. You could write maybe 4 books a year. And that means in order to get to 20 books, you're going to need 5 years. This is a long game. It's not it's not a quick game. Now, 80,000 is a kind of a middle size nowadays book. 40,000 is actually the rule, the established limit for what a novel is. A lot of people are doing very well with 60,000. So you want to sort of look where you want to be. And if you did 60,000, obviously you'd have more books per year. Your price point, you would probably want to sell them for a bit less. But it depends on your readership. If you can get a lot of books out quickly, and they love it, that's the big question, then that might be the way to go. I just want to give you, your path will be different from everybody else's. It will be your path. Alrighty, so a couple of books you might want to check out if you haven't already. Help, My Launch Plan Sucks by Mal and Jill Cooper. Craig Martelle's Release Strategies. There's like a bunch of books to read. But those are 2 that I was recommending. Okay, so this is adapted from the science fiction author Heinlein. He had Heinlein's rules for authors. I have Indy's rules for authors. Write it. I recommend you write what you love. Typical word length, we saw that. Track your productivity. For some of you, this is going to be annoying, and for others, it will be huge. But you're keeping an idea where you're going, because you may have to revise. Finish what you write. Always finish what you write. Edit it. Find an editor if you can. Line editor, copy editor, creative editor. Know the difference between them. I also recommend Self-Editing for Fiction Writers by Rennie Brown and Dave King. You might want to check out Pro Writing Aid, but I have a caveat on it. It's geared, seems to be more towards business letters, and it encourages homogeneity. And it hates the passive voice. So, that, I can totally get it, We were in it, no, I can't even give it a passive voice anymore. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit? That sounds passive. Yeah, so my point is that sometimes passive voice can be incredibly powerful and not to lose it. Publish it, yes, we need to do that. Select your markets. Amazon KDP, KU, do you want to go with Draft to Digital? Do you want to do it all on your own? Do you want to do Kobo and Nook and Amazon and a whole bunch of other people? I recommend experimenting. I went with Draft to Digital for a while, then I went back to Amazon, what they call narrow, and I found that my income was better with Amazon. So I'm with Amazon right now. Now, will I change? I know how, maybe. We'll see. We might give it another whirl. Format it. Some good formatting stuff now is Vellum and Atticus. And those of you who are really into paint, Adobe InDesign is amazing. I use Adobe InDesign. And put a cover on it. Blurb it. Blurb. How many people here don't know what blurb is? Okay, we're done. That was easy. And then market it and advertise it and repeat until rich. Okay, so what? You don't know what? Oh no, you're taking a photograph. I was going like, how many people? Oh no. All right. So you're going to need some auxiliary documents probably when you're writing. Things you'll probably want. A list of people, places, and things, or a spreadsheet. I kind of alternate between the two. A timeline for time tracking what's going on in your story. Invariably, I try to get away with not doing it, and invariably, I have to go back and put in dates and times and stuff so that I realize where I'm going. These things will slow you down in the short term, but they can save your butt in the long term. One of the writers, you're all familiar with the writer's dance, right? Okay, I'm going to pretend that was a no. So the writer's dance is when you're up at 3 a.m. with a toothbrush cleaning your bathroom. You know, the writer's dance is whatever you can do to avoid writing more of your book. And sometimes that's I haven't finished world building. I've met so many people who have not finished world building. The book, you know, you cannot edit a blank page. I'm sure that there are a couple of wit and wisdom books out there that are all blank pages and that sell for a joke, but mostly you can't sell a blank page book. So you got to get it done. Todd's first law, or maybe Todd's 0th law at this point, allow yourself to be bad. Everybody spends too much time going, I've got to be perfect. You don't know. Every reader is different, so you have to figure out what you want out of that. Okay, books and instant coffee. Sort of ties in with what I said earlier. Okay, when you write, you have all your memories, your thoughts, your dreams, from which to base everything. You got to start. Okay, the book you create has none of these, just a distillation, the words. So it's like a freeze-dried version of the original story that was in your head. Okay, I just said that. It's like instant coffee. The original coffee was made with your brand of water. In the instant coffee, that water was freeze-dried into words on paper, and it goes out to create instant granules. Instant novel. But the reader adds their own water to make a new cup of coffee. They add their memory, their color blue, because not everybody has the same color blue when we say blue. Some people think dark blue, some people think cyan. That is why people have different reactions to the same words. They're all using different water, heated to a perfect their own temperature. So because of that, not everyone can get a decent cup from your freeze-dried ingredients, your book. And not everybody will care for what you brew. And you just sort of, that's the reality. You're not looking for everybody. You're looking for the people that like to read what you want to read. And it's hard, you know, you'll get 1-star reviews out there. Oh my God, a 1-star review. The nice thing about a 1-star review is they reviewed your book. And it turns out after a while that helps because there's a certain factor where people decide whether they can believe reviews. And generally, if you have more than 21 reviews, then the reviews on those books are considered authentic. They're not mom, dad, and everybody else you can get to do that. By the way, do not get your parents and your friends to review your book for you. You'll probably get this lecture elsewhere, but fundamentally, Amazon takes a look at everybody who said nice things and says, oh, these are the people we're selling this book to, right? And they go look at what those people bought before, and they say, I'll sell those books to other people who bought like that before. And unless, you know, you got diehard science fiction, fantasy, whatever your genre is, fans in your friends and family list, it's going to try to sell books to the wrong people. And then Amazon's going to go, oh, this book's not selling. So it really hurts you. That was the quick version of that. Okay, so series. I go back and forth on series. I grew up on a lot of standalone stuff. But the data pretty solidly says people want series nowadays. They want to be able to sink their teeth into a world. And so they fall in love with it. I've seen that when I get book 3 out there, I get a bump in sales all through. So it's sort of like, you know, and you can go further, but definitely book 3 kicks things up. Okay, so series examples, Louis L'Amour Sackett series, Patricia Briggs, Mercedes Thompson series, Lois McMaster-Jones, Ford Costigan Saga, David Weber's Honors, Jim Butcher's The Dredgen Files, and Because She'd Kill Me, if I didn't mention it, Anne McCaffrey, The Dragonriders of Pern. It's kind of like my mom, so I have to say that. Okay, now the book is written. Now, well, you need to get it edited. I would argue that you want to bury it in soft peat for a while. That's from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You know, you want to put it aside maybe start on something else, preferably start on something else, and probably not the sequel, because if you discover major things you want to change in the book, then you're writing the sequel, then you're going to end up changing the sequel too, which is going to be kind of frustrating. You need to get far enough away from your own book that you can judge it fairly. The more time you allow your book, the less it becomes your baby, the creation of your heart. Oh my God, it cannot be anything but perfect. It starts becoming a book where you go, yeah, I love this section. It doesn't quite work. I'm gonna fix that. And that's a really hard thing to do. And as I say here, the time required depends upon you and your experience. It's gotten really short for me now. But it used to be, even if I was away from a book for 3 months, it'd be like, you want me to cut off one of the extra arms and the extra head? But the extra head was so cute. Anyway, okay, save a copy and work with the copy so that you have your original someplace safe. I'm using Google Docs, and they have version control, so I can actually go back in time if I want to. But I would still argue, just put it over there on the side, say this is what I ended with first draft. Make notes, changes, whatever in the copy. Run a spell check or pro writing aid, and you already got my caution on pro writing aid. Okay, get an outside editor. Outside editors come in all forms. If you know an English teacher, you might want to make friends with them. Okay, my first 8 books were traditionally published, and I had a traditional editor, and I also had a mom, and an agent. So I had at least 3 reads, in the first draft phase on it. So I really got edited. The more you get edited, the less you need it. So when I went indie, I had over 1 million words published, and I've edited 2 nonfiction books. It got me a little bit further down the road. Even so, when I published my first indie book, there were more than a few typos. And I got a professional editor to go over that book. There are still typos. There will always be typos. Okay, typos are the cockroaches in your novels. Just get used to them. Apologize. Amazon's got this thing now where they have a quality control dashboard, and they'll warn you. Also, Amazon, if you use, I think it's with the ebook, they run a spell check. With the regular books, they don't, Joy. But they'll tell you typos and stuff like that, so you can fix it. My attitude is, gee, I'm sorry. On the other hand, usually where I have typos, it's because I'm having so much fun in the story. I'm just going so fast that I can't stop. It's like, no, write it, I'll fix it later. Oops, missed that one. Okay, so I use a number of strategies to reduce typos. One of the most powerful strategies, and it's a good strategy for writing altogether, is read your work out loud. Drawback on this is if you're like me, your voice will go hoarse after a while. But there is a possibility, if you really want to sort of push that out a bit more, use it as a chance to make the audiobook your own self-narrated. That saves you a lot of money. Audiobook. Audiobook people will also find typos for you. It's kind of like they can't help it because they're reading it out loud, and it's like you get the famous TEH instead of THE. They'll notice it, but it can be very powerful. It can also be very powerful if you just do it a little bit. Are you worried about your opening? Read it out loud. You'll find out what works. Okay, so you need 2 more things. You need a cover, and you need a book description, also known as a blurb, or parts of that. All right, and blurbs cover a lot of things. Your book description: Romeo and Juliet with chainsaws. A review from a reader, couldn't put it down. Reviews from readers are really nice. Unless you build it carefully, you're not going to get that until later when people have read your book enough to give you reviews. But you can always change the back cover if you're doing it yourself. Okay, so then you want to release. Do you want to release narrow or wide? So narrow is releasing a particular platform like Amazon, KDP. You can publish it in paperback, an ebook, and even a hardcover book. You can do all 3 at once. And I'm up to the point now where it's kind of like, yeah, generally I do all 3 at once. Because somebody may want to buy an ebook, or somebody may want to buy a paperback, and somebody may want to buy a hardcover. Okay, you can do KDP with Kindle Unlimited, and your page per page read. And people argue that you don't really get fans when people are reading through KU because they're just finding it. I don't know. I've heard other arguments that say, you know, if they really like it, they're going to go buy the book as well because they want to keep it available because it disappears out of KU after a while. I'm kind of like, there are different types of readers, and the biggest audience I can make is the best audience. So that's where I go with that. You can go wide, so you can go on a lot of platforms. Draft to Digital is an aggregator that'll push things on a lot of platforms for you. It does Amazon, Apple, Kobo, and a whole bunch more, but they take a 10% commission. No, that's not a big deal because they're doing all the, all the stuffs and getting it out there. One of the things I like about KDP right now and Amazon is a marketing on a platform that basically if people are coming to Kindle or if they're coming to books, they're looking for books. Half of my problem has already gone away. Somebody's looking for a book. And so if I advertise to the people who are looking for books, it's clearly going to have a greater number of hits than if I advertise to everybody, a large portion who don't even care about books. I think it's a little bit harder to Amazon to advertise on Draft to Digital, but you can do targeted stuff. You can Amazon stop that. You can advertise Amazon or Apple or nothing. It's you pay your money, you take your choice. Okay, alpha readers. They read the first draft of your book. They know there will be mistakes. They tell you what doesn't work and why. For them, Somebody, there's an old joke goes around. It goes like this. It says, if one person says you're an ass, well, that's their opinion. If two people say you're an ass, well, people are allowed to think what they want. If three people say you're an ass, maybe you should buy a saddle. So the nice thing about readers is you don't have to take, if 2 people out of 10 don't like it, maybe you want to change it, maybe you don't. If 10 people out of 10 don't like it, that's serious feedback. But they'll tell you what doesn't work, and you love these people because they're willing to read it and they're willing to let you know. Friends and family are not good alpha readers because they have. How are they going to tell you worked so hard on this novel and nobody really wants to read about the sex life of centipedes? I mean, they love you. It's like, publish it. It'll do great. I'm lying. Whatever. Okay, so now you get up to the big thing. You release your book. After you absorb the feedback from your editor, send out your revised manuscript to your alpha readers, you're getting ready to publish your book. Okay, when the alpha readers finish their feedback and you've incorporated it, then you're ready to send out a beta copy or an advanced reader copy, and you're also ready to start seeing about pre-orders and your beta readers. So beta readers, okay, pre-orders. You can make your book available on pre-order, and right now I'm kind of the opinion it's a great thing to do. So there are a number of reasons. You increase awareness and anticipation. You offer your book at a discount to dedicated readers. I generally take $1 off for people who do pre-orders. It gives you a chance to solicit feedback through beta readers because it's sort of out there. The disadvantage of pre-order is you don't get the money until the book goes on sale, but that probably existed already. Beta readers are people who read your novel when it's ready for print. They will still find typos because typos, they find typos. They can also be influencers. They can be the people who say, oh my God, I just got to read this beta copy of this book and you all should buy it. And believe me, the thing that will make your life is super fans. Fans who will buy your books, fans who will grab people and say, you gotta read this book. I was started on so many good books because of a super fan. The Hobbit was at a science fiction convention in the UK and somebody says, in a hole in the ground, there lived a Hobbit. You really must read this. I went, okay. It's one of the big things because an influencer will generally get 10 more people at least, and you love these people. Okay, book reviewers, same thing, influencers, but maybe more general, and you love these people too. Okay, covers. So covers are selling tools. Repeat after me, covers are selling tools. You don't actually have to do it out loud, but I didn't believe that. I thought covers have got to have some element of the story so that you can look at it and you can think. No, covers are selling tools. Covers are, oh, that looks cool. You pick it up if it's a book. turn it over, read the blurb on the back, and go, how much is this? Okay? It's a selling tool. So a lot of my covers are not, they're not perfect. They're selling tools. So I'll have a cover with a spaceship on it. But my spaceship in my book may be a globular spaceship, and the spaceship on the cover looks like spaceships. It's a selling tool. So you want to remember that. Don't ever forget that it's a selling tool. It gets readers to pick up the book, turn it over, read the cover book. I said all this already, and buy the book. I said all of that. It can also inform the reader as to genre. There's a huge, it drives me nuts. The market has gone to this thing where the belief is you want the title in large letters, the author's name in large letters, and something on the front. And it happened because of a mistake coming up. There was a nice guy at Meadow who worked at Barnes & Noble who was asked to go look at what sort of covers are selling. And so he did, and he compiled a list. And Stephen King. Well, what sells on a Stephen King book? The name Stephen King, right? So that's all they had to put on it, and a title. They could have just left it blank. You go to Diana Gabaldon's original Outlander covers, and it was like, I think it was a thistle on a dark blue or dark green background, and that was it. And so they got this idea that the traditional 5, or 4 as they might be, got this idea that that's all you need from this report. It all depends. I mean, I love a good artistic cover. But that's me. Will it pick up other people? I don't know. But anyway, so it does inform you as to genre. Certainly, Chainsaws, Bleeding Blood is probably not going to be a cozy mystery, for example. So you want to have the right signifiers out there. Okay, so here are some examples. Self-promotion time. All right. Actually, they're pretty good examples. So LA is the first AI. So it's hard science fiction suspense. The Steamwalker is an alternate history with a YA protagonist. So it's got curved text on it and things like that. The Jupiter game is it's first contact with a twist. So it looks nice and hard science. And then Raw Space, this is the one with the spaceship. It's really not the spaceship. It does a pretty good job. I could do a whole other panel on the book covers that Todd threw away because it didn't work. But okay, so when you look at covers, how many people here only read ebooks? Okay. Oh, there's one back there. Good, thank God. Otherwise I was going to lose my point. With ebooks, we see the front cover. I grew up with the full book covers, and so what you got was what we call a wraparound cover. And that's a cover for a paperback or a hardcover. I always make wraparound covers because I can do the. Turns out that with Amazon, your paperback cover and your hardcover cover have different formatting requirements, so you can't just take the one and use the other. It's annoying, but that's life. All right, so, and I always release a paperback and often hardcover. So here's an example of a wraparound cover. And then here is a more detailed view with the Amazon template over it because it lets me break things down a bit more. So the right side is the actual front cover. Then you have this, I can do this. Ha, I can walk up and, all right, don't be afraid. Okay, so this is the actual front cover, and I've used the same thing for the ebook. The red lines here are the bleed-through zone. You don't want text or anything there. The little dots are kind of where it's going to be folded. And so generally, I work in Photoshop a lot. So what I do is I get this, everything makes me happy. I go bring up the template here, and then I use the marquee tool, whatever it is, the M key, so I can outline this whole thing. And then I turn off the template, because otherwise I'll get a copy of the template. And then I copy that, and that becomes my cover. Here's your spine, self-evident. And then here's your back cover. And so it gives you an idea of what you're going to have there, and that's where you put, that nice selling stuff. There's a long story behind this one. This is a work in progress. Anyway, I just wanted to give you an idea of what it looks to do a wraparound cover. Okay, getting covers. So you can build your own. You can also make machine behave. All right, so the pros are you get what you want, it's free, and you can easily replace them. The cons are it takes time, and you better know what you want, or be willing to learn. So you can buy them. You can get a professional design, but it costs money, and replacing covers costs more. I don't know. I replace my covers a fair bit because it's like, well, what's going wrong? It couldn't be the book. The book must be perfect. So you can use Cover Creator, or I think there's Canva, a couple of them out there. You can get help with some templates, and you can easily replace covers, but it doesn't always look professional. And that can really hold you back. But it's kind of where it goes. Now, the fun part. Writing book descriptions, aka blurbs. It's hard. It is, especially for writers, it's kind of like one of the hardest things out there. It's like, oh, how do I condense my beautiful story into just a couple of snippets? And there's also a tendency to want to tell parts of the story. My advice, avoid it. So you want a distilled essence. You want to tempt the sale. There's a whole bunch of classes, lectures, books on this, unique art, including Brian Cohen, Mark Dawson, Craig Martelle, Brian Meeks, Mal and Joe Cooper, and Theodora Taylor, who, if you haven't checked out, you might want to check her out. She wrote
Seven-figure fiction.
Thank you. Do you know the full title?
Seven-figure fiction using universal fantasy to sell books.
Yeah. So basically, what she's saying is she's selling the emotion. You don't say my poor orphan girl was red-haired and starving. You go, a starving child, right? You want to show people a little bit about what they're going to get into, what the emotional journey is going to be. It's what she says. And I'm finding it really good. She talks in the book about how Julia Child would always throw more butter into chickens. Mm-hmm. And so she says universal fantasies, but I'm sitting there going with butter, And she gives a couple of really great examples, but it's work, but it really pays off, I think. So put the butter in the book descriptions, and you're going to have to read up a lot on this. Okay, so I'm going to give you an old book description because I want to show you how I've been changing over time. Okay, New York Times bestselling author, what happens when the desire of a prince clashes with the dreams of a Scottish lass? 1745, Edinburgh, Scotland. Bonnie Prince Charlie wants to restore his family to the throne. Danny Walker has big dreams too. A steam walking machine, something tall enough to climb over fences, straddle potholes, and keep moving for hours. If you love history, feisty women, and rebellion, you'll love the Steam Walker because it has it all and more. Read the Steam Walker today. Okay, I wasn't happy. So here's the latest one. I won't say I'm happy with this one either. But one of the things I did is I got one of the book reviews. 5 out of 5 stars, good read, adventure with heart. I love that. Strong female characters, great story, could not put down. Love this, love this, love this. Looking forward to next book, love that. Awesome storytelling. Todd McCaffrey is a bright light these days. So you all get one. And then my blurb underneath it, in a world where women can only be wives, she stands out. A blacksmith's daughter, red-haired, strong, quick-witted, and strong-willed. 14 in a time when many are already married. She will not marry the cruel, dirty blacksmith of the nearby forge. Instead, she will make her destiny with steam and steel. She does not suit her world, so she will change the world to suit her. Her name is Danny Walker. This is her book. Now, I think that's a little bit more in this universal fantasy.
More engaging.
Whoa! I like the clap. But it takes time to learn how to do this. So, the nice thing about being in the indie world is you can change stuff. If you were the traditional publisher, it would take a while to change stuff. Okay, so, all right, going back to what our blurbs are. Again, this is the same review, so we're not going to stay here, but you get reader blurbs. You get fellow authors. This can be really cool. This is for the Jupiter game. It's from DJ Butler, who's a really nice guy. I think he might be here. And then I have one from the late, great Mike Resnick. But it's kind of nice. It gives you validation. Harder to get. Where I sit, if somebody asks me for a review, it's going to be like, I really have to like the book before I'm going to say anything. You know, it really has to work. Now, I have books out there that I'll go singing the praises of, but it really, I'm careful about that. Okay, so you're published. Yes. Now what? Well, people need to know where your book is. You got to do some advertising. You got to do some marketing. So we come to the famous marketing funnel. At the top level, with awareness. People need to know about your genre, series, or book, or all of the above. Then we get interest. You want to get them interested in this genre, series, or book. Then you want desire. We want to get them to desire a particular genre, series, or book. Gee, I said the same thing there several times over. But then we want action. Action's where we all go, ka-ching! They bought the book. This is cool. This is not the end of the story. We want to nurture those people who bought our book because, gosh. And so we want to engage them beyond the book. And then, this is what we all love, we want them to get to become advocates of our book, and preferably of us. We want to turn the reader into one of those, grab the other people by the lapels and say, read this book, it's really great. So that's kind of the whole, how do you, this is a whole class too, how do you get in the marketing funnel, but at least we're talking about how to do it. So in the funnel for myself, for awareness, I use Stencil and Buffer, and I make posts on Facebook, Instagram, and I'm not sure if Twitter's going to be sticking around much longer. And for interest, I do newsletters. I use MailChimp. I've been using MailerLite, but I've also been using Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Desire, promos. I did a shelf space promo. I did countdown deals. If you're working with Amazon, you all want to check out the A+ content. This is where you can add extra stuff, but it makes your book page look so much more professional. Now, I use something called Doodly. I will not say it's the best thing in the universe, but Doodly is this whiteboarding thing where a hand scrolls and your text coming up, and you can have little tables and stuff be drawn, but I do something very different with it. But fundamentally, I make what might be called a book trailer, and then I decompose the book trailer into images that I use for A+. A+ is a little bit hard to negotiate. It takes, it's another one of the things on your learning curve, but it can be really useful. All right, so action, I do Amazon ads. I'm now doing Facebook ads. Amazon has added this really cool thing called Amazon Attributes.
Yes.
And you can go ahead and get, you set up a URL that's got all this special added on extra stuff. So every time somebody goes through a Facebook ad, out the door over to Amazon, this thing tracks it, so you know how many people actually clicked on the links from Facebook, how many people actually bought something from Facebook, and how many Kindle pages have been read from Facebook. It really starts kicking things up. I was off Facebook. I was not using Facebook at all, and now I've come back to using Facebook as my primary sales mechanism. So something to look at. Nurturing, newsletter. I go to conventions a lot. I grew up in the convention world, so I go to Comic-Con. I was at Salt Lake City FanX, which is gorgeous. And then you do deals, which are countdown deals and stuff like that. Advocacy, again, the newsletter, being there at the Comic-Con, the conventions and deals. Okay, change topic. So we talked about how many books you have to sell to get $50K a year. Let's turn this around and ask how many fans you need to get $50K a year. All right, so we assume that we're talking super fans. They'll buy everything you wrote. You have 20 books. You're making $5 per book. So you need each fan's worth $100. And therefore you need only 500 super fans to get $50,000. Worth remembering. Now the catch is that's 500 new super fans each year, because otherwise they spent the $50,000 and next year what are you doing? But it's still kind of, or you're producing more books. Now if your average fan only buys 25% of your books, then you'll need to find 2,000 average fans a year, new fans a year to hit the same number. Now that's, when you look at that, those are squiggly numbers, because your super fans may still be buying your new books, and your average fans may be coming back. They may have bought a quarter of your books last year. This year they're buying another quarter. Yay. So that's something to look at. And then I conclude. Woo-hoo.
Wow.
So write a good book, publish it, market it, and repeat until you make as much money as you want. 4 minutes, 56 seconds. So,
Nailing it.
questions. Okay, so the deal with questions is we're going to take some from here. Do you want to come up to the mic? Okay,
Is the mic on?
because that way it'll be recorded.
Guys.
And then we're going to take some questions from our virtual audience.
I can read pretty loud.
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know if the AD guys want you on the mic.
Wait, is this on the mic?
Also, to get through all the questions